What's going down, y'all? It's your boy, Black Pegasus, and welcome back to Basic Plan for the Simple Man, where common sense is king. This is the show where I try to answer your questions about music industry stuff, entertainment, marketing, promotion. Also, sometimes we talk about health, and sometimes we like to talk about combat sports because I'm a fan of MMA. Keep sending in those questions because I love to answer the ones that I know about. Anyways, this week my boy Big Wino on Instagram asks me, this is actually a good question, how do you calculate the worth of a feature? So if an artist wants to pay to get another artist on their song, how do you figure out that worth? He breaks it down. He says a single stream generally is worth 0.006 cents. So if you get a bigger name artist for, let's say, $1,000 for the feature, to break even, you would need to get about 170,000 streams to actually make your money back. He knows that I do marketing and promotion, and he's wondering, how do you calculate the monetary value of a collaboration? How do you budget for marketing and promotion on a collaboration? And have you ever heard of bigger name artists ripping off smaller artists? So let's go ahead and answer some of these questions for him. He also asked, what are your thoughts on doing local and national features? So the difference. So we're going to answer all those questions right now. Start with the easiest one first. Have I ever heard of big artists ripping off smaller artists for features? Absolutely. A lot of times, a smaller artist will send money to a bigger artist via PayPal, Cash App, something like that, and the artist won't ever send a verse back. That does happen. The best way to go about it is when you're getting verses is go through reputable people you know. Like, you can always take a chance. Not all artists are shady. It happens kind of rarely. It always seems like it's like the drugged out artist or or it's a scam. Like some people, there's a lot of scams going on online, people. Like, be aware that you gotta have the right email. You have to know something. You have to know someone. Have some type of in before you just send someone money. A lot of times when I do features for artists, I just have them send me half up front and half when I send them a little, where I let them hear that I've actually recorded the song, and then send me the other half. Then once they send me the other half, I send them the MP3 reference and all of the files. That's how I do it. Now, sometimes when you're dealing with a bigger artist, they're not going to let you do half up front and half when it's done because they're a big artist and they kind of call the shots. So you're going to have to play it by ear. Most of us who've been in the streets, who's ever hustled in the streets or have done business, etc., you can kind of feel things out when you're on the phone, through email, and kind of feel it out if it's legit or not. But the best way is always have an in. Always have like a middleman, someone you know, someone reputable. That always makes it a lot easier to not get loop and juked on that joint. So, have I ever heard of bigger artists ripping off other artists? Absolutely, it happens. Doesn't happen all the time, but it definitely happens. And they're scammers. So now you got to watch out for people taking these people's credentials online and using them to sell verses, sell shows, and then just stealing your money and then just running off. So you got to watch out for that. That's a big thing going on nowadays. How much do you budget for marketing and promotion on a collaboration? Just like almost anything in the music business, it depends. It depends on the level you're at, right? How much money do you have? How much money do you make off your artistry? If you're not a professional rapper, which means if you're not rapping at the level where you live off of your rap music, then it's what do you have and what do you budget? I always recommend, if you're not a professional rapper, make your living, right? And then you do rap as a hobby. However, with rap, let's say you're opening local shows and getting a cut from your ticket sales. Let's say you are selling features. Let's say you're selling merchandise. Don't spend that money. Always take the profit, put a percentage back to ordering more merch, more studio time, and marketing, period. Don't spend the money. That's all I can tell you. If you're living off rap, then you have to figure it out a little differently because you have bills to pay and stuff like that. But you always need to be able to budget. That's why I always tell everyone, you have to have your personal life in order and be disciplined. You have to be able to budget. If you can't budget, you won't make it as an indie. You can't make it on your own. That's why people need managers, accountants, all this other stuff, because they don't have the discipline to do it themselves. you got to budget, and to budget for that, it just depends on what you're making. But if you're making anything off your rap music, I recommend you don't spend it on anything leisurely. You get disciplined, you focus, put a percentage back to the re-up, which is studio time, merchandise, etc., and then a percentage to marketing. And that marketing budget, once you have a certain market, you can market your merch, you can market your shows, and you can market by buying features. So, there's not an exact answer on how much to budget because it depends on what level you're at. If you're like a super big rapper making millions of dollars a year, it's a different budget than a rapper who has a day job and only makes a couple $100 off of merchandise a show. But I do recommend, if you are a rapper with a day job or just on the come up, don't blow your money on leisurely stuff. Don't be disciplined, focus, don't get distracted. Put your money into your craft, into your passion, save it, but always make sure you have because you can't do things without your priorities. You can't do anything if you can't pay rent, if you don't have a laptop, if you don't have a phone, if you don't have your car. All that stuff has to be sustainable and working. So once you make sure all that's in motion, then you can think about a budget for your marketing and promotion. And remember, with marketing and promotion, the money does not always come back right away. So you got to see what works for you. Like I always recommend put it into merch because you can always bring the merch money back. Like in the recordings, you don't always make money off your streams. But with merchandise, so you want to definitely focus on merchandise and then the other things later, such as marketing and promotion, because marketing and promotion is about building a brand. Brands take years to kind of just get that feel and that, to get hot. Like you can't just get hot overnight. It's associating that brand with so much hotness for so long. That's when you create your brand gets established, then you can leverage your brand for monetary gain. So budgeting, you definitely need to focus on things at first if you're just starting out. And these vlogs are for people who are just starting out. That's why it's called Basic Plan for the Simple Man, because this isn't like the Puff Daddy marketing scheme to launch MGK's first album. This is to help you get to the level that I'm at or a little bit above, because that's what I know. Like I'm not Puff Daddy, I'm not 50 Cent, I'm not Leor Cohen. So, I'm just trying to help out the beginner. Anyways, I believe budget a little bit for marketing and promotion, but everything you do at this point will be marketing and promotion, from giving out flyers to texting people, your song links, all this stuff. But essentially, when you start making money, you want to put the first amount of money for the re-up, things that can make you more money, such as merchandise and what's working for you, what's actually selling, and then money for marketing and promoting your brand and making your brand hotter. So that was the second question, and then the third question, I'm going backwards. How do you calculate monetary value of a collaboration? Again, that kind of coincides with the marketing and promotion budget. You got to know what you're dealing with, what can you afford without breaking the bank, without going under, and devise a plan. Also, remember, buying a feature does not mean you're going to catapult into the stratosphere. You have to remember, just because this person has a platform like this and you get a feature, it doesn't put you on that platform. This is still your platform you're launching that song from, because it's your song featuring that person. So ultimately, you're aligning yourself with this hot brand, and you're hoping that this hot brand gives you a little bit of metrics, like brings up your brand just a little bit. Like if it jumped up this, great, but that's really not likely, especially when you're dealing with like a budget of $500, $1,000. You know what I mean? You just want this brand, the feature that you bought, to help bring you up metrically. The one thing I would tell artists to do is focus on your music and your stuff. Don't go crazy on features. You want your fan base and audience to really love what you do and fall in love with your music. The features are kind of like bonus, right? However, I have noticed when you get features, you get more plays on Spotify, you get more views on YouTube. If you're hashtagging and labeling everything properly and you got a bigger feature, you definitely want to keep that into consideration, because though you might not see the monetary value right away, it will build your brand, and eventually you want your brand to be at the same level or get to a certain level so you can leverage it for monetary gain. So how do I calculate that? At the level that I'm at, I just look at the artist at the level they're at, what time. I go search all of their analytics, all the analytics I can find. And then I see what they're charging, and based off of these certain things, I see if it works. Also, I look at the artist and its audience. Don't just be buying features because you're a fan. Make sure his audience aligns with your audience, because if not, it's a waste of money. Like, I've done some features with homies of mine that are really big in the game, but it didn't really fit my audience, so it didn't really move the metric. However, as an artist, it was dope because that's my homie. I love their music. They just happen to be bigger than me as an artist, so we made a beautiful song together. However, did it really move the metric for my audience and what I'm doing for my career? A little bit, but not. It, like, you can really catapult things if you hone in. If you're like, yo, this is the artist I'm kind of sound like. This is an artist with the same audience. All these things make a huge difference. So focus on that before you're paying for these big features. But how do I calculate that? I look at all their numbers, and then I look at what they want to charge, and you kind of make a guesstimation, because you don't really know how it's going to come back. Some songs just hit. I have a song on YouTube with Mad Child and my boy Mr. Biscuit. It has almost 2 million views on YouTube. I did not know it was going to hit like that, and it hit because of a lot of different reasons. It didn't hit just because of the feature with Mad Child. There was a lot of different things that aligned with the release, the thumbnail, the this, the that, and that's why it blew up, not just because it was a hot feature. You never know. Like, I've done a song with Tech Nine and Liquid Assassin, but my song with Mad Child is way bigger on the YouTube scale, and it's because the way it hit, all these different things. So don't just think because you buy a feature it's going to be big, and don't think it's going to be small. You just really don't know. So that's the game you play and the risk you take when calculating these things. There's not really a specific number you can put to any of this. Also, artists will do deals. Like, when they just need a little extra money, they'll just be like, I'm going to do 10 features this week so I can make 10 G's. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to, if it's a dope artist and it seems like a good deal, and you have the in, I'm not going to say don't do it, because you definitely get eyeballs on your stuff. And the people that are already watching your career, if you pick the right feature, they're going to get more excited about your career. Ultimately, you might not make it back in streams right away. You might make it along later down the line. But in excitement, exposure, things of that nature, you got to learn how to calculate those things as well, and what's it worth to you, and investing in your career. A career doesn't pop in a year or a day unless you get lucky, and that's like gambling. Some people get lucky online and it does pop like that. However, most of the stuff I've seen takes years. It takes about a decade, 5 years to really get the traction you want and to really be considered at the level you want. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm going to say about that. Should you pay for features from locals or national artists? It depends. I wouldn't recommend paying for local features. I've seen locals selling features for $50 to $150, but when you can buy an established artist feature for $500 to $1,000, it's like, just save up the extra money and go all out. I think local artists should work together to build the scene. If they have a buzz, if they're doing shows where them as a local artist can draw 200 to 300 people and they have a ton of engagement and buzz on social media, why not pay for a feature if it's at the right price that works for you and it aligns with your audience? Why not? However, I do believe if you're going to make an investment, do the smartest thing. If you can get a feature from a local for $150, why not just save up $350 and get a feature from a bigger artist that's already touring the world, his name's already higher in the analytics, etc. That's just what I think and makes more sense business-wise. But hopefully that answers your question, Big Wino. I was kind of all over the place. I kind of one take these, but hopefully that answers your question. If you got a more specific question too, go ahead and ask. But with this question, it's hard to put a direct amount on the monetary value of things, because it's not like, hey, I want to buy $1,000 feature from this artist. Then I could answer it. I could go look at his numbers, like, hey, oh, so this artist has this many followers, he does this. This is what your music sounds like. I think it's worth $1,000. No, I don't. I'm trying to answer it to the best of my ability with the information given. So I hope that helps you. Much love. Till the next one. Peace and chicken grease. Yeah, BKG into the death of me. Bam.